It's going down for real. What's going on, everyone? Happy Facebook Live. It is February 11th. Notice it's just me, myself, and I that is in the weather lab. Is this glitching? This better not be glitching. If it goes glitching, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go ballistic. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Made a really amazing, I think, a cool graphic showing the freezing level and how the actual freezing line was in the mountains. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to dive right into it, but it could be going down for real in the early morning hours as we get the potential for some thunder sleet. Sounds like a heavy metal band. Yeah, it is. It's glitching. It is glitching a little bit, especially when you say that word. It's like the glitch. You try to say it and it glitches. But there's a look at the watches and warnings. We've got a winter weather advisory. One of the things you'll notice now is that Washington County has been added to this winter weather advisory, and for good reason. The latest HRRR is going gangbusters as we have the potential for some heavy precipitation. It's so quiet right now, it's even wild that this precipitation is going to develop, but I think it does. And this system that's coming in, it's almost like the cap is going to break in terms of winter weather. And this is the type of system that can really, really bring some major surprises pretty rapidly. So, because it is just me, myself, and I, will let the camera track me here. And first of all, let's give you an idea on, let's just get right into it. We're going to look at what I think is going to happen here with the precipitation. So the expected precipitation type is this: a wintry mix across parts of northwest Arkansas, an ice accumulation in Madison, Boone, and Newton County in the higher elevations, in the higher terrain. I'll explain what I mean by that. We've got snow potential in northwest Arkansas, especially northwestern Benton County. So Bella Vista, Decatur, Gravette, Sulphur Springs, Maysville, those areas are going to pick up more snow and sleet rather than freezing rain. And then rain in the river valley, that's not a concern at all. So this is what we've got. And this is pretty surprising. So the HRRR, everything is showing pretty quiet. Now, I did not say Harrison is fine. Harrison is not fine. You will see ice accumulation as well. And there's already ice accumulation that's on top of what's happening. Now, Harrison is in the valley. Higher up, you've got the freezing precipitation. So if you're asking about individual cities, we'll get into that. We'll take a look at everything. But let's go into the early morning hours. Watch this as this precipitation wave starts to come in. In fact, we're starting to see some returns at the very end of this satellite and radar loop on high heating cooling mega Doppler too. You're starting to see some stuff begin to pop up. This is the very beginning stages of what is going to be a pretty intense system. And I'm not going to lie, there's a lot of energy with it. So 5 o'clock in the morning, see those temperatures right around the lower to middle 30s? River Valley is going to be in the mid to upper 30s. No winter weather. However, heavy rain will cause some issues with the morning commute right at drive times. Now watch as we step forward a little bit more in time, and you're going to see this precipitation shift east. And at this point, dynamic cooling, because of the column cooling off, is going to lead to rapid temperature drop to right around freezing. So 6 a.m. You'll notice that it does not show temperatures below freezing, but it has winter weather. Now, what we're looking at here is sleet. Keep in mind, sleet can fall above freezing at the surface. And if it falls heavy enough, think about how long it takes ice cubes to melt. Snowflakes are going to dissolve really quick when they hit wet ground. Sleet does not. But this is 6 o'clock in the morning, and this is a ton of precipitation. And not only that, because we're right on the nose of the dry punch, we have the potential for thunder, freezing rain, and thunder sleet. Kind of like what happened yesterday, although I think this is a much stronger system. Watch what happens as we go into 7 o'clock in the morning. Temperatures start to drop even more, and that freezing precipitation continues. Now you got 32 at freezing in Bentonville and Rogers. Will roads be wet? Most likely, but they will also be sleet covered if we get these bursts of sleet. Then, as we go into the morning hours, now those temperatures are starting to get down to freezing. And then you'll notice right at freezing in Bentonville, and Rogers, Fayetteville will be around 32, 35 degrees. Notice the freezing rain in the higher elevations still coming in. So, Brandon, this is a good question. Uh, isn't sleet basically baby hail? Not necessarily. And what makes sleet different than hail is that sleet falls once. So it starts at the sky, starts at the top of the sky, falls as snow, melts into a raindrop, and then refreezes before it hits the ground into a ball of ice. That's a one process falling in order for that to develop. Hail, however, is turbulent. It goes up and down and up and down, and it collects supercooled water and water droplets, and that allows the hail to grow in size. This is glitching. This is glitching a little bit. Now, this has been up for a while, so that might be why the computer is glitching, but at least it's not terrible. Let's see. It's not terrible glitching, but it's definitely a little bit. So sleet is winter hail? Not necessarily. Sleet is different than hail because sleet only falls once in the process of its development. Hail rises and falls multiple times. And another thing that's different too is sleet will look transparent, whereas hail is opaque. And the reason for that is supercooled water causes the hail to look kind of cloudy, if you will. Hail is kind of cloudy and opaque, but sleet is clear and transparent. Back to the radar, future radar. Notice that we could get a little bit of winter weather that follows that as well. So here's the deal. If we do get that thunder, freezing, rain, and sleet, that's going to lead to heavy accumulation on the roads. That road accumulation will lead to slick travel conditions, and that could cause some issues in the morning. If this is really coming down in the morning, schools might be like, either it's a late start, or they essentially say, forget it. We're just going to do we're just going to call it a day. I don't know what schools are going to do. I don't make those calls. I do know, though, that the morning commute could be a little slick. And then look at that, a little bit of flurry activity during the morning. Now, after that system moves out Wednesday afternoon, which will happen, Thursday morning is going to be brutally cold. Wind chills near zero, temperatures around the teens and in the lower teens. And then you'll see here during the afternoon, you've got temperatures just barely getting above freezing, but I don't know if that's going to happen, essentially. Okay, Edward, I think Peyton's going to get in fine because here's the deal. He's going to drive in about 2:30 in the morning before this precipitation really starts to crank up. So I think he's going to be absolutely fine, and he's going to be ready. He's going to be geared up. He's going to have his Death Wish coffee. He is going to be ready to go. He's going to be locked and loaded. Yeah, so Elkins, we're going to take a look at all that stuff and see what the models are showing. But if you're just tuning in and joining in, we've got a winter weather advisory now that's extended south into Washington County, into Madison County, and into Newton County, and also Adair County. So if this sleet comes down as expected, and we're going to look at all the different models, by the way, not just the because I can't do that on the air, not just the HRRR. Let's check out the graph. This is the graph 3 kilometer. It updates every hour, but it only goes out 15 hours. So let's see what happens. Everything's quiet. Here comes 4 a.m. Look at that. Heavy precipitation. And that right there is some heavy sleet, freezing rain, and even snow. And this could, honestly, this type of system could be thunder sleet, thunder snow, along with thunder freezing rain. There's going to be lightning. But the temperatures at the surface are borderline freezing, so that may limit accumulation in terms of snowfall. But sleet, if that comes down, that's going to be an issue. Notice how that snow continues to linger with the wraparound. This is a strong system. I'll show you what it looks like on water vapor here in a bit. So there you go. There's the graph 3 kilometer model. Now, when we look at this is the graph 4 kilometers, so a little less resolution. You can see those easterly winds right now. And then watch what happens. There's that precipitation coming in. So right around 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Now, this is actually perfect timing because if it happens early enough, instead of 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, then you'll have precipitation that's already fallen, and then you can have the schools saying, you know what, we're not going to send the buses out because of that heavy sleet. And the Weather Service is saying this as well. In fact, I'm going to read their latest discussion because they just updated it. And in fact, I was asking the lead forecaster tonight that was on duty, and I was like, "Hey, you think thunder sleet is a possibility? Because it sure looks like it." I didn't. I've been solo, so I haven't had much time to update, apps and many other things, and so that's why we did this push as well. But this is what they say in the update. So a couple changes were made in the short term forecast, and I agree with this. First, added patchy drizzle because we're already seeing that, and the models didn't really handle this very well. Look at that patchy drizzle and fog that's developing, and this makes sense because you got the rising motion and the lift from the system that's coming in from the west. Um, High res models have been struggling to pick up on the drizzle this far, and it's there. In turn, solely relied on surface obs, radar, and ping reports. And patchy to areas of drizzle and freezing drizzle are expected to persist. We're going to look at the surface temperatures too. But here's Gaither Mountain. Look at that ice covering the guy wires. And then they say, we'll let overnight shift add in drizzle to grids beyond midnight. And then second, increase thunder probabilities 20 to 30% overnight through mid-morning. There's elevated instability of 200 to 700 plus joules per kilogram, mostly unstable Cape, and in the sounding data. So hard to say how this elevated instability will affect precipitation types, but it could erode that cool any warm nose aloft. And this could take that sleet snow transition line a touch farther south. So that's why they're kind of looking at this. And yeah, they've been on it. They've nailed it. Here's a look at the fog in Lincoln. How about the WeatherBug network camera at Mount Sequoia? Fog starting to settle in. But what are those temperatures? Well, let's check it out and show you what we've got temperature-wise across the region. So here's a look at the current temperatures. We're right now sitting at 32 in Rogers. Springdale drops off at 11. 33 at XNA, 32 in Bentonville, and 33 in Solomon Springs with mid-30s in Fayetteville. Now remember, these are the airport sites, so these are pretty accurate readings. You got 39 in Sallisaw, 40 in Fort Smith, and 39 in Boonville. And then you've got 33 in Harrison and 32 in Grove. So some cold weather. And unlike yesterday when we had southeasterly winds, we've got east northeasterly winds. Maybe a little bit southeast here and there. But I'm going to show you this system that's coming in, and it is a beast. I mean, it's a big system. Then we're going to look at snow totals and we'll look at several other things. But we'll bring this up here real quick. Someone asked where the rest of the crew is here. You won't get shelf cloud pictures, not with this system. Maybe. I don't think so. No. Huh. I just told Coco it is cold and wet in Fayetteville. Yep. Freezing rain tonight depends on where you are at. So where's the crew? It's a good question. Zach Gilday is off today and tomorrow. It's his day off. He's got to have a couple days off, right? He hit the gym probably. We've got Peyton, who's covering Josh's shift in the morning. And the reason for that is Josh is sick with COVID. So he's getting some rest. He felt pretty awful today. He is definitely under the weather. This weather is nuts. We got a lot of other stuff coming in too. All right, let me show you the water vapor because this thing is nasty looking. All right, here's the water vapor. Here's the system, and you can see it starting to come in. So it's a fast-moving system, very progressive. But you can see this system is digging, it's strengthening, and then you'll be able to see water vapor as the system comes zipping through. Now, the track of the low is going to be to the north of us. However, we're still cold enough where we see that potential for a wintry mix. And look at this. You got the nose right here of the dry punch. As that comes overhead, that's where you have that potential for thunder freezing rain and thunder sleet. So let's do this. I'm going to look at some Cape. So let's look at some severe weather parameters. Let's look at the Cape, and I think this is surface based, so it may not show anything. And Cape is convective available potential energy. And I don't think it has anything for us. However, this isn't mostly unstable Cape. I'll explain all this and we'll get into all of it. But okay, Parthenon. So what was interesting is Jana said yesterday that Parthenon was absolutely fine with icing accumulation. Well, before I dive into the details and go into like a bunch of scientific stuff, let's take a look here at the snow accumulation map. We'll also look at the ice accumulation maps. So we're going to look at all different models with the 4 panels, and we'll see what they show. So first of all, this is the ice accumulation for the graph. The graph has a bullseye. Take that off of there. Has a bullseye of ice that's happening in the higher elevations. Remember that word higher elevation, or that phrase higher elevations. There's a good reason that it's called that, and I'll show you coming up in just a bit. But notice how there's not as much ice over northeast Oklahoma. Well, that makes sense because there's going to be more sleet and snow there. Now, when we look at the European, it's got a bullseye of ice in western Newton County. That makes perfect sense too, because the temperatures are going to be dropping a little bit. Here's the GFS. It's got ice over northeast Oklahoma and a few pockets of that, not necessarily over Boone and Newton County. It's all about the temperatures. It's glitching. I know. It's going to. You know, it's not only your birthday, but it's Courtney Mims's birthday too. So she's taking the day off, but she was sick yesterday and all of last week. So yeah, let your kids come inside, Brian. There's nothing going on right now. But tomorrow morning, I think you'll see a lot of stuff going on. And the NAM has a little bullseye of ice. So that's 3 out of 4 models that have essentially a little bit of freezing rain in eastern sections of northwest Arkansas. How does the terrain impact that? I'll talk about that in just a bit. But first of all, let's go into snow totals. So the graph is a little more bullish on this. You can see those blue shades showing up. That's over 2 inches. And you got darker grays and whites, essentially, or should I say brighter grays and whites, and that's heavier snow. That's just about 1 inch. So anywhere from a dusting to a little over 1 inch is looking most likely, including northwestern Benton County. Here is the European model. I personally think is a little too warm, but it's always a possibility that warm nose is stronger than expected. Here's a look at the GFS, where you have a couple tenths of an inch of ice, or should I say, yeah, about 2/10 of an inch of snow, not ice. I'm sorry. It's like, what are we looking at here? We're looking at snow accumulation, and the NAM has that area of snow as well. Yeah, but look at the bullseye of heavy snow. This is our new snow accumulation contours, which I love. I think it's awesome. I think it really tells the story. And we'll take a look at zoomed in views. Here is a look at, since we know the snow is going to be mostly over northwest Arkansas and not in the river valley, let's take a look at a zoomed in view. A lot of people asking about individual cities. So this is the high resolution rapid refresh model that shows about a 1/2 inch of snow, because it has a lot of that as sleet. So remember, that's just snow. It does not show sleet accumulation. Sleet accumulation is in the computer models, but it's online. You have to look at it. We may be able to show it if we have time. By noon tomorrow, Matthew, I think the roads are just going to be wet. However, if snow comes down and the temperatures are going to be dropping, we could be having some issues. Then that's done basically by Wednesday afternoon. So that system's out of here. If you didn't get a chance to check out the 10 o'clock, I'm going to explain ice accumulation, and I think this is a great time to do it. Higher elevations. So step back and enjoy the show here, because I made this graphic tonight, and I think it really does tell the weather story on why icing occurs, and elevations are, let's just say, very important. in determining where that icing will occur. So here's what we had last night into this morning. You woke up this morning, you might have seen this line here of frozen tree tops. And then underneath that, absolutely nothing. Everything was perfectly fine. I even caught this on my way to the gym. In fact, here's my picture that you'll see. And this was, again, looking at, hold on just a second. Well, I can bring it up right here. So this is on my way back from the gym. I caught this photo, and this was in Fayetteville. So obviously a coating of white at the tops of the trees, but then absolutely nothing underneath that. And so that shows you that freezing level was really close to Fayetteville. However, it didn't quite happen. So this is on the way back to the gym. So how does this freezing level develop? Well, here's what we've got. Now, you know there's terrain in northwest Arkansas. You've seen it. If you flow to the Buffalo River, you know that terrain. Let's go back to this, and we'll show you how this works. So this is an exaggeration of the terrain. But as we zip down, you got the Boston Mountains at the bottom of the screen. See how rugged that terrain was? Then you go farther east, and you got Boone and Newton County, where they had a lot of icing. And now you can see Ponca is obviously in a valley, but then up on top of the ridges and valleys, you've got some pretty big mountain tops. So this is what it looks like if we were to bring this out on a Google Earth elevation profile. So essentially, we're working our way from Drake Field on the left-hand side of the screen all the way to Harrison on the right-hand side of the screen. On the screen, you'll see those different elevations. You got 1,250 feet, and then you got 1,500 feet, 1,750, and then 2,000. And you can see that some of the elevation tops are exceeding 2,000 feet in elevation. So this is called a land elevation profile. And you can get this through Google Earth, which is really, really helpful. If we look at the left side of this profile, you've got Fayetteville. On the right side, you got Harrison. But you got to remember that there was that freezing level. And so that freezing level was essentially above the surface all the way up to about 5,000 feet or 4,000 feet because of a sounding. And what we can do is we can show you this with soundings, but this is a land elevation profile. And so remember, we're going from west to east. Well, where there wasn't icing, that was obviously valleys that were above freezing. Because there was mixing with the wind and it wasn't radiational cooling, which is what causes cooler temperatures in the valleys. But in this case, because you go higher up, that is how you can see the freezing level and where it was. Now, it's not a perfect straight line. Some places it was a little lower, other places it was a little higher. So when it was a little higher, those are your mountaintops coated in ice. And we got one more photo that really displays this. But that freezing level last night into this morning was approximately 1,500 to 1,800 feet. The new sounding that the Weather Service out of Little Rock launched has the freezing level about 1,800 feet. So again, Harrison, Boone, Newton County, going to see that potential for icing, not just sleet and snow. So I think some icing accumulation will be possible. That precipitation is starting to pop, by the way. Look at it in Ada. This is the very beginning stages of what's going to be an eruption of precipitation. Okay, so going back to this now, you can see that there's clearly a freezing level. Here is a look at a picture that David Preston sent in from Madison County. And look at the lower level trees, nothing. And then above that, you have essentially where that freezing level was. So there you go. That's how elevation can play a major role. Also, I don't know if you noticed or not, but think of shallow cold air that's coming in. And shallow cold air is not going to make it through those elevation peaks. So that really gives you an idea of why this place is so darn difficult when it comes to forecasting. And turd, now I see you're such a turd sometimes. Brian, you don't have any ice now. If you're going to go get some ice cream, then you can come back and bring me some. That'd be nice. They won't find any ice. No, if you live that high up, it's pretty cool. So, did that make sense? I hope it did, because put that together and wanted to kind of show you how that works with elevation and elevation changes. Denton Sachs says the land elevation profile is what we use for the radar. But I don't even know how to say that. Obstruction, obviously. I don't know if that's obfuscation studies. It's a big word. That's a word I've never heard before. Obstructions. Yeah, they might find ice. Just throw some ice cubes out there. All right, so we're going to answer some questions here. What might the roads be like in Fayetteville early Thursday morning? If it's sleet pockets and heavy sleet at that, and thunder sleet as it's coming down, that could cause some issues. Let's look at the NAM here and see what we've got. Now, one thing the model doesn't show is what it looks like in terms of sleet accumulation, at least on these. But I can bring that up, and we can take a look at this. But here's 5 a.m. Look at that. Every single model brings in heavy precipitation, and I could definitely see this being sleet. And how do we know this? Well, let's just say we're going to look at the sounding, and we're going to do that here in just a bit. But there's a look at that NAM 3 kilometer. Look at this coming through. Temperatures start to moderate. So if it does sleet, even though it is above freezing, I've seen it before where a burst of sleet is like dropping little balls of ice, and those aren't going to melt. Think of Dippin' Dots. Do Dippin' Dots melt right away? No, they take a little while. If you have a slush and you pour water in it, that essentially gets rid of the slush really fast. Dippin' Dots, though, they stick around a lot. By the way, if you can find some Dippin' Dots, I'll take those. That would be amazing, Brian. So don't look for ice, look for Dippin' Dots. Man, those sound really good right now. I also want to show you something else, too. I was firing on all cylinders tonight. I didn't really have a whole lot of coffee. I don't drink coffee. I didn't even have a whole lot of caffeine. I probably need it. But I want to show you this. This is something cool that we did for the shows. We looked at pictures, and we can show pictures now in a really quick format. I learned this tonight. You know, like I said, you learn something new every day. Jonathan, we will mention the system next week, too. I know a lot of people are wondering about that. Stick around. We got a lot to talk about. But I got to show you this. This is kind of cool. These are some photos from our viewers, and we love that. And you can scan that QR code, by the way, to get the latest pictures. But I'm going to show you a little selection of them. So we got Nancy. Look at the ice. Look at the bird feeder. That's all frozen solid from Chester, Arkansas. North Harrison, a little bit of icing accumulation. You got this right here, Les Murphy, good buddy of mine in Newton County, which, by the way, I found out, hint, hint, the flower shop, we have mutual acquaintances. So that was kind of cool that I talked to today. There's Mount Sherman. That's one of the higher spots, over 2,000 foot elevation. Here's Nancy. Chester, Arkansas again. Awesome photos. Look at the ice accumulation in Harrison on one of those fence posts. Here's Shayla. I love how it adds a little effect to it as well. War Eagle Cove on Beaver Lake, East Springdale. You got Jasper, Arkansas. There's Cody Hudson. We talked to him yesterday as that icing was occurring. How about Lisa Otten? Star Road, top of Canvas Mountain in Fayetteville. We know that area. That's East Fayetteville, and that's where that coating that you saw. That freezing line on the way back from the gym. Mount Sherman, there's Les. And then we've got Nancy again in Chester, Arkansas. Leaves that are frozen, coated with ice. Cody Hudson, another photo. Look at the ice accumulation, too. We got Ryan, northwest of Huntsville. And then we got Lisa Gebhardt, our last one. Love that photo. You got the cow that's looking right at us going, what are you bringing? That's some super crazy weather. Good catfishing weather. Isn't that cool though? It's a new thing called Megaphone, and that allows you to send in your photos. And it's really easy for us to display them. Before we used to have to save them, we have to go through and create them and then save them as an image, and it just took too much time. Now we could just click and drag and literally bring those photos live into the studio pretty quickly too. Here is we're gonna look at some other snow totals. Grove, Scott, you're gonna get I think a couple inches in Grove. I really do. I think you're going to get some snow. So there's where you can send those weather photos. Just right there. Download the app, and we can get that stuff. Get the good stuff. All right. Let's look at some soundings on weather too. And I'm going to do that. First of all, though, here's the temperature and here's the dew point. So with an easterly wind, those temperatures are still above freezing. So that's an issue. However, that doesn't really play a role in sleet. Sleet accumulation can occur above freezing. And the type of precipitation and the amount that we're getting, we could be in for it. All right. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to bring this up on weather 2, and time for more explanation, people. So we're going to go through what's called a skew T log P diagram. Now what that is essentially a sounding, and what the sounding does is helps us understand the atmospheric profile and how the profile changes over time and also with elevation. So follow me over here, camera, as we look at what's known as a skew T log P. And unfortunately, I have to shift that over here. There we go. So what you're seeing is 0 degrees Celsius, that's 32 degrees Fahrenheit, and there's your line that's basically skewed. So anywhere along that line is freezing. That means all this is snow. It comes into this layer. Now, this is the sounding from last night. And the reason I'm showing you this is because, as you'll see, we're actually above freezing at the surface because we're to the right of this 0 degrees Celsius line. But remember I was telling you about that freezing line and that freezing level? That was about, a little under 500 feet, because notice how it drops to the left of that line. Watch as I click in here and zoom in. This drops to the left of the line. So this is essentially where your freezing level was. The trees were coated in ice all the way up to 2,700 feet, which is over our elevation. So that's why you didn't see any parts of the trees where you had a layer of ice and then there was the tops of the trees were not having any ice. That wouldn't happen because the freezing level was that deep. Then it gets above freezing, and then this is that area right in here that allows for temperatures to be above freezing. So here's what we've got to do. Let's get the latest soundings. Let's see what we've got coming and cooking for this mount, and we'll see. So we're going to get what's called Buffget. Buffget is this is Buff Kit. Yeah. Well, that'd be more entertaining than the halftime show this year. I mean, I don't know. Kendrick Lamar has some good songs. I thought the production value was poor. It was terrible, in my opinion. Plus, he couldn't understand a lot of words. I don't know. I guess I'm just like an old grandpa, if you will. And I do like some of the songs, but it just didn't have the oomph. It just didn't seem like there was much planning into that Super Bowl halftime show. You can agree to disagree, whatever you want, but love to get your thoughts on it too, what you thought while we're loading up the new profile sounding data. I think there will be chances of power outages sporadically. Ground has been relatively warm. However, for bursts of sleet, it doesn't matter, Alex. It can really, think about it this way. Get a bucket of ice and throw it on the ground. And Brian, why don't you do that outside for your kids? And then they'll be able to find some ice. But take a bucket of ice, dump it on the ground. It doesn't melt immediately. Nah. Will said we muted the audio. We actually had the audio blaring because one of my friends, Denton's daughter, was dancing around, and he's actually on the is watching the stream right now. And she was dancing around, loving that music, and having a good time. That was more entertaining than the entire halftime show, in my opinion. Game was kind of dub. Game was kind of weak too. It just was a domination. Yeah, I know. Kendrick and Drake. You know what I would have thought would be awesome? I mean, imagine this, mind blown. What if Drake came out as a special guest with Kendrick Lamar? That'd have been like, that'd have been mind blown. That'd have been legit right there. Okay, soundings are done. Let's check it out and look at the latest here. So we click on this. We get the new sounding information. Here's Tuesday at 9 p.m. A very similar scenario, although this time, as you'll see, that freezing level is a little deeper. So this is sleet. And you can see it right here on the profiles. And watch how it's going to drop down to ice pellets. So now we're starting to get the column that's cooling. And look at that. So essentially what you're looking at is temperature in the red, dew point in the green. As you're going up in elevation, these are the temperature lines that are skewed, but this is an isotherm. Anything along that line would be exactly 0 degrees Celsius, 32 degrees Fahrenheit. All this is below freezing. But you'll notice it's a lot colder and a lot deeper than it was last time. And the surface is above freezing. And we move along in time, and this is for Fayetteville, by the way. And it shows that we get potentially some snow. Now, sometimes that warm nose is a little stronger than expected. And with it being stronger than expected, that can lead to essentially a little more sleet rather than snow. We'll move along in time here. That's some heavy precipitation. Right now it shows rain, but boy, that's so borderline. That could just be tons of sleet, but I don't think it's going to be snow because you could see the dendritic growth zone right here where those ice crystals form. It's not saturated, meaning the green and the red lines aren't together. Now they start to come together, and then it kind of dries out as the dry punch comes in. But this is where really, really heavy stuff could happen. If the temperatures were colder, we could get a good heavy snow out of this, a wet snow, but that's probably not going to happen. Let's take a look at some other areas. Fort Smith, way above freezing, pretty much throughout the column, and therefore, guess what? Yes, it starts as snow, melts, forms into rain, and that's why those raindrops are just different than raindrops that are basically a little bit different in the summertime. Let's go to Harrison. Now we've got a little bit of a different story. Now that shows freezing rain, but that's not legit. Let me go back here. And I think it's a little late on the precipitation too, because that can't really be freezing rain because anything to the left of that, let's look at the precip type. It shows freezing rain and ice pellets. Remember that warm nose could be a little stronger. And then it starts to warm up. That's heavy precipitation. And even though it might not ice at the surface, there's already elevated areas that have ice. They still do. They're still accumulating ice. So look at this right here. And you can see those ice crystals hanging off the water tower. They didn't melt. And temperatures are way too cold. So going back to one time the skew T, we'll go forward and then it's gone. Let's look at a snow profile. Let's go to eastern Oklahoma. And with eastern Oklahoma, you're going to see temperatures a little colder right there. That's a snow profile because it's all left of the 0 degree Celsius line. How about Branson, southwest Missouri? That's also snow and borderline freezing rain. And why does this have to be so difficult all the time? I swear it, man. Winter weather in Northwest Arkansas is the worst. We knew we had our back against the wall on this one, though. And then there's snow. All right. So, how does that translate to the forecast? People are just like, just tell me how much it's going to snow. Well, it's not just snow; it's also ice potential. So let's start looking at some ice and snow graphics here, and we'll give you the latest. All right. So first of all, let's go with the lowest amounts. The lowest amounts. That's a good question, Brady, about the different soundings. So it's just a computer model forecast. So it's not the true sounding on what happened with Little Rock. It's just a model representation. So here's the European updated snow totals, which looks like it's a little bit more, but doesn't even register as anything. And then you got a little bit of ice. Now, I don't know. I personally think this is underdone, but it has been good on the temperatures. Let's show you the graph model. This is the graph, ice and snow. Notice that you got ice and snow occurring at the same time. So just a mixed bag of precipitation. And we're going to zoom in on this with the graph. You can get to see the zoomed in version here shortly. So there's a look at, we'll go all the way through Wednesday afternoon. Shows a little dusting of snow and shows a little minor ice accumulation. Because I think most of this is honestly sleet. Let's look at the graph zoomed in. So this is a zoomed in view of the graph. And this will tell you more on different locations. So I'm going to take the camera off the screen on this one so you can see some of those other areas. Notice how those ice accumulations get covered up by snow. So, and remember, the temperatures are borderline freezing. But there you see Gravit and Bella Vista on the graph model showing a couple inches of snow clipping northwestern Benton County. And maybe even a little bit of a light dusting continuing during the afternoon. So I think Benton County is going to get more snow than they did on this last one. No doubt about that. I'm pretty confident with that. Let's go to the GEM. This is the Canadian model. Ice accumulation showing up, and then it should add some additional snow. Look at that burst of heavy precipitation. So the Canadian model has a little more icing, actually has a lot more icing. And then you've got snow on top of that farther north. So let's go to a zoomed in view on the GEM. So you've got precipitation there, ice. So we no doubt it's going to rain and sleet and snow and freezing rain. And look at that. That could be a problem if that comes to fruition. Nearly 4/10 of an inch in Ponca. But remember, those elevation changes will make a huge difference. And anywhere it's above that freezing level, you've got accumulation immediately. Well, we mentioned this before, Jonathan. It's going to be too warm for areas farther south. But I think with it coming in real heavy, now 0.25, that's not ice. That's not ice, Kenzie. That's just snow. No, actually, I take that back. That is ice. That is ice accumulation. Now, why? Hold on just a second. Hold on. Those numbers are not the number I want. They're not the color I want. So I got to go in here and adjust this real quick. Stand by. Yeah. It's too hard to read, and that's the reason that I adjusted it. So there we go. Save, close. Now we got it. Now you can see it a little bit better. Okay, save and close that. So yeah, that is 0.25 in Prairie Grove. You're right. That's icing. Now a Canadian model is sometimes a little bit too cold. Now this should have updated this one too. Let's see. Yep, it did. Okay, perfect. All right, we got a couple more models here. The GFS. What does the old trusty GFS do? No, you're right. You are right, Kenzie. It is. You're right. I'm wrong. It was ice accumulation. It was supposed to show up more pink than that. Here's a look at the icing for the GFS. Not much, but it does show that snow. And then here's a look at not much. It doesn't have much at all. Now, why is that? Maybe because it's underdone on the precipitation. Let's see. Let's move this along in time. Oh, yeah. I don't know. Super tricky, man. Super tricky. Let's go back to a zoomed in view. Yeah. Ask the 8 ball. That's what we will do. We'll wrap it up with that, and then we'll show the 7-day. Look at that, about a couple, half an inch. And then we've got, let's see, the graph. We did that. The NAM, last one. I like these graphics, so I made these last week, and I think they're really awesome, especially with ice and snow both. So there's a look at the icing, and then here comes the snow. The precipitation really cranks up after 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. And I think Benton County will get some snow. But as I was mentioning, yes, the temperatures will be too warm, but remember, it just adjusts down a little bit. Yeah, I've been bragging on the Euro, but I think it's been a little off. The temperatures, it did well, though. It did a pretty good job, but it underdid a little bit on the icing accumulation, and then it changed its tune. So, yeah, we're not going to do that tonight, Edward. We're not going to do that tonight. But what I'll say, though, is that with sleet, that can pile, even though you're above freezing, dump a bunch of ice cubes on the ground. See if they disappear really fast. They don't. Here's a look at the NAM that's zoomed in a little more. And you're going to notice there's the icing that's occurring. It just doesn't really have much. It has more snow than anything. Well, there you go. There's all those totals, all those things that we're looking at. And man, what a tough forecast. You see how just a small little change can vary everything? And here's the deal, man. I'm calling uncle, man. I'm literally throwing in the towel. I'm waving the white flag. Josh is out. I'm probably going to be out with sickness because I'm going to be run down. Oh, that is a good question. Sleet cannot cause power outages. It bounces off the trees. It bounces off of the power lines. It's much better than ice. Ice accumulates as it accrues on surfaces. It does not do that with sleet, but it does run down your gutters and create some huge pileups at the bottom of your gutter spouts. So just be aware of that. Here's a look at the active weather pattern. A lot of people asking about the long range forecast. Well, let's dive into that just a little bit. Number one, we mentioned how it was going to get colder. We knew that was happening. We knew winter wasn't over by any means. We knew we were going to be in the battlegrounds where you have warm and cold and warm and cold and warm and cold. That's what we've got. But check out this active weather pattern. So the jet stream rips in with this system. That moves through. We get a break on Thursday and Friday, but you won't like the break because it's going to be really cold. Then we got another system that's coming through Thursday night into Friday. Bad system. Then you'll notice that swings through and that brings some rain. So I think if you're into baseball and you're going to the Razorback game, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a doubleheader on Friday, which will be miserable because it'll be pretty chilly. Lower 30 wind chills, by the way. We'll show you that in just a bit. I'm going to take a sip too. Stand by. There we go. Need some caffeine too. And I'm going to loosen up the tie. Come on. This is Facebook After Dark. All right. So here's a system that comes through. Long wave trough, very amplified. Now, after that, another system comes through. This one looks pretty stout. It's got some cold air to work with, and that could bring some, let's say, snow lovers' dreams right there as that system swings through. So let's take a look at this long-range forecast. First of all, I think it's already going to start raining by Saturday early morning. In fact, it's going to be literally raining by, I think, Friday night. So if they do a doubleheader Friday, it would be, a first pitch, whatever, in the afternoon, another one in the evening. But they may not be able, if they go too late, get the game in before rain starts to develop. Now, here's the rain that pops up Saturday. And then notice wraparound precipitation, cold enough air where I think we get a little bit of light snow. This is not a heavy snow maker as of now with the latest information. That is the European model, and that's for Saturday. And then Sunday, forget about it. Highs are going to be below freezing. So at Ballmarker Stadium, you've got winds that are going to be pretty stout with temperatures around 30. You don't want to be out there for that. Monday, hey, President's Day, nice stuff. See Monday, but you know what? You'll start to see those cirrus clouds. Cirrus clouds represent some serious weather coming in. And guess what? Another potential system. Potential is the key word. I can't stress this enough. I feel like people are going longer and longer and longer with the range forecasts. And it just is getting worse and worse and worse. I had someone asking me about late next week. I'm like, come on, let's just get through tonight. Let's just get through tonight before we can talk about a system that's more than 7 days out. The potential the models are showing is there. Can it completely change? Absolutely, it can. But we go back to this and you'll see, if this happens, this will be a good snow. And then that zips through by Wednesday afternoon, and then it's gone. So basically Tuesday into Wednesday. Now that's the European model. I'm going to zoom out a little bit for the GFS. That's a little too far zoomed out. There we go. All right, so here's the GFS. First of all, just a mess tonight. Then we've got Friday morning into the afternoon. Nothing. Here's the rain that starts to develop Friday night. Got that included in the 7-day. Oh, shnikes. I got to do something here real quick. But here's the wraparound snow on Sunday. Then as we roll into our Monday, quiet. Tuesday, not so much. Here comes the next system, potentially. And you can tell that's a lot of precipitation that shows up for Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. That would be a heavy snow event. And then look, even more snow. So with that said, this is what the Weather Prediction Center put out. And you're going to have to bear with me because I've got to put in the numbers for our forecast contest. If I don't do that by midnight, I'll lose out. So, and yeah, it's going to be a tricky forecast to say the least. My gosh. All right. Where's my forecast sheet? So if you're commenting away, just give me a couple minutes here. I got to enter in all this information. So going for a high of, you know what I'll do? I can do this. So there's a slight risk of heavy snow. And let me just preface this by saying this. Slight risk, heavy snow. Two phrases that probably don't sound, it's like heavy snow. How is that just a slight risk? That means the probability of snowfall for February 19th and the 20th. This is Tuesday and Wednesday. There's a lot of things that can change. The track of the system, the speed of the system, the temperatures of the system, if the system even exists. It hasn't even developed yet. So there it is, though. And that's what slight risk of heavy snow means. Now, they actually say slight risk is 20 to 40% probability. I think that's a little high, but this is what I'm going to show you. The 7-day, you guys can just digest this. You can talk amongst yourselves, as Turd Ferguson said. Coffee talk with Linda. good old Saturday Night Live. I bet you that'll be on the special. Talk amongst yourselves. I'm going for Clem. So I'm going to bring this up full. I'm going to mute the microphone. Stand by. I am muted. I was muted, so I had myself muted. This is Lilia right here. Lilia, we're on Facebook Live right now.
Oh,
We're
okay.
talking about the weather. So
I cleaning for the.
yes, you clean for KNWA Fox 24. I know if I see you, I'm working late because you work
Okay.
you work the later afternoon or later overnights, don't you?
I happy for working for news.
Yeah. Mucho frio.
Mucho frío.
Is it mucho frio?
Mm-hmm.
And what? How do you say raining in Spanish?
So what's cold?
Yeah. How do you say rain?
Rain, lluvia.
Yeah, lluvia.
Mm-hmm.
Lluvia. That's right. And it's going to be windy too. It's going to be everything. So,
Mm-hmm.
well, thank you, Lily. I appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Always love seeing her as we're closing out the night. But the camera wants to keep tilting down. Oh, there we go. All right, back to the forecast here. I guess I still have this in Fox style guide here. Let me switch this up real fast. It's not just the Fox 20 forecast, it's also KNWA. But first of all, we're going to begin with the first 5 days. Yeah, thanks for letting me know I was muted. Sorry about that. I was muted because I was contemplating all that forecast information. So, first of all, let's take you through the first 5 days. I mean, you talk about an active 7-day forecast. My goodness. So, you start off with a wintry mix Wednesday morning. That's that sleet and snow and freezing rain and rain combination. Then you got Windy Willie that's on there. And the reason for that is wind chills are going to be brutally cold. And we'll take you through that as well. You got east winds tonight into tomorrow morning. And then that front comes through and they switch to the northwest. And not only that, the temperature is going to drop. And boy, does it drop dramatically. All the way down into the lower and middle teens. So 17 might not be cold enough. That's what I went with the forecast contest. 34 on Thursday. Hail, the wrap model, I think, is actually pretty decent, and it does a good job. We can't show it on this weather graphic system, but I can show it elsewhere. There is Friday, 48. That might sound nice, but wind chills are going to be in the lower middle 30s. Yeah, I know. That's what we've been saying, Alex, and that's what I was talking about, thunder sleet. Then Saturday, that system's coming in. Rain and storms developing AM and PM. Saturday's a wash, big system. And then you've got Sunday with the potential for some early morning wraparound precipitation. That's why we got the early AM. President's Day, hey, finally, some quiet weather. Richard, I have played pickleball. We've even played in a tournament with my wife. And yeah, I love pickleball's fun. Super fun. Okay. So back to that Tuesday system. Stay tuned. Right now, we've got temperatures above freezing at the start of it, which makes sense. No. Hale, that's not sure about that. That might be a little much. There you got the front coming in, and stay tuned because we got that system. Here's the River Valley. Much different story. Thunderstorms in the morning. Thursday, going to be chilly, not brutally cold. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone out there. Lower 50s. You're not going to be loving that weather. Better than, though, Thursday. Thursday is going to just be frigid. In fact, let me show you those wind chills that are expected. So I'm going to look at that wrap and see what we got. That's a good question. That's a good idea to check that out. Let me look at this here. This is the ICAST data. So this is our forecast, and this will show you the wind chills and the temperature. So first of all, see those winds are out of the east. They start to shift out of the northwest when that front comes through, which is right there. That's when we'll start to see more snow. It's not really, I guess it's not really dropping those temperatures much. I don't know if I buy that. That looks like some pretty strong cold air advection. So there's a look at the temperature starts to drop Wednesday afternoon. Now watch this. Wind chills getting closer and closer to zero. And man, come on, winter, die, winter, die. That's brutal. That's Thursday morning. Wind chills near 0. Now, let me tell you something. There's also the potential that there could be a little diamond dust Thursday morning with the cloud cover. Diamond dust is snow that basically falls because the temperatures are so cold. It's a water vapor going to a solid, which is known as deposition. Sublimation is where you have a gas going to, a solid going to a gas, which is where snowflakes start to disappear. That's sublimation. Deposition is what we could have tomorrow or Thursday morning, and that would be diamond dust. Which, by the way, if it clears out, that's going to be interesting. But notice the temperatures Thursday afternoon. Shh, that's awful. And then as we go forward in time, let's show you the graph 4 kilometer because this goes out a little bit farther. This will go to the baseball time. Watch this. So first pitch, 42, but we've got temperatures in the lower 30s. So that's not fun at all for wind chills. Scrap that. Dude, I could not say that word. Den, you're on here. Go ahead and tell me how to pronounce that. Obfuscation, I think is how you say it. But
yeah, it's obfuscation.
And what the heck does that mean?
It's just things in the way of other things. So it'd be, we use it in the term for radar. If there's a tree clutter data, like buildings and certain types of trees, attenuate it differently. So that's what it is.
Nice. Hey, show that Hodo tool that we're cooking up. I saw you playing around with it. You think you'll be able to share that?
Yeah, give me just a minute on it.
He dropped off. No, I'm just kidding. Here's our low temperatures expected for tonight. So yes, some places above freezing, other places a little bit below freezing. Cassville, Anderson, Grove, you're getting snow. Yeah, that is the voice of God. Small g. And then here's tomorrow's highs. 35, 39, 35 in Eureka Springs, 37 in Huntsville. So yeah, we do warm up above freezing, but it won't be until tomorrow late morning into the afternoon. Let's check out the latest HRRR, and then we'll look at a long range satellite radar, essentially, or a wide range satellite radar, not long range, because then we're not talking about time. We're talking about now. Here's a look at the precipitation that's coming in. Watch this. Just an explosion of precipitation. Golly, that is insane. And that could lead to some thunder sleet. And with that, I want to show you that. So let's go into some models here and look at mostly unstable Cape. So stand by. Haha, mostly unstable Cape. Remember, it's right at the nose of that warm that dry punch. Yeah. Wow, this is cool. I think we're gonna have some thunder sleet tomorrow, Denton, in the early morning hours. Sure do. And here's why. I'm gonna share this screen here. First of all, though, Denton, you want to show the Hodo tool? Let's do it. Yeah, we'll bring this baby up full. So this is a hodograph analysis tool that we're working on where you can literally calculate storm motions, critical angles, shear vectors, the shear vector to the critical angle. And then you can also go into an analysis plot and you can get an early side of the hodograph essentially. Oops, hold on. Bring that back up. So there's a look at the hodograph, and then you can roll over the cursor and to see the different parts of the hodograph, which is basically a measure of the wind speed and direction with height. We're doing a lot of research on tornadoes and critical angles, and this is really going to help out. That actually is not too bad of a profile.
And Dan, this is something new that we just added tonight. We can actually, without redrawing the entire plot, we can change the storm motion here on the fly, so we can see what will be the best critical angle.
Go. Yes.
So that will be dynamically updated as we go now.
I'm gonna bring this up full screen so I can see. Yeah. So where is our critical angle? The Esterheld critical angle. There it is. Now remember, Esterheld only goes 0 to 500 meters. We're doing it a little different. You can still call it the scoff critical angle.
Oh, we'll do it. I'll change it.
It's just a little different. What is that first point, by the way? How low is that first point?
Looks like that one is 98 meters.
98 meters above the ground.
So that's 321 feet.
Pretty sweet. This is going to be pretty awesome. Let's go back to this thunder sleet, though. You want to see this? Well, we'll check it out. So I'm going to share my screen. Share this window right here. So this is the reason I'm sharing the window is because I'm going to be looking at different stuff. So this is the latest HRRR, the 4Z. Look at all this instability coming in. And then you'll see it start to nose right over us at about 5 o'clock in the morning. We click on this, and you're going to see some what we call, elevated instability. So this is all stable right here. So there's not going to be any thunderstorms at the surface. So you don't have to worry about severe weather potential in terms of tornadoes. That's not happening because this isn't a surface-based sounding. But that is elevated instability where the temperatures decrease with height so rapidly that your parcel process curve is to the right of that, which essentially leads to elevated instability. And you can see that mostly on stable Cape at 434. That is a thunder sleet profile. Wow. Even thunder freezing rain too. And I don't think it's truly hitting column. The whole column hasn't cooled. Look at how fast that develops too. So I think we're going to be seeing some major changes in the morning. And then look, that thunder sleet kind of races east. That's thunder freezing rain right there. And there you see it right on the screen. So there's the HRRR model. Let's look at the wrap. Someone said the wrap is producing 4 inches of snow. That seems a little much. Let's look at snow depth instead of snow accumulation. And yeah, it's got not quite 4. Let's zoom in a little bit on that. Can't, looks like. But you see around 1 inch of snow. So we do have that. That might be a little overdone. Let's look at the NAM here. Let's go into local. Let's look at Arkansas. And so there's the snow depth and very minimal on the NAM for snow depth. Now here's what I wanted to do. I want to look at sleet. So total freezing rain. Not everything shows sleet. There's the freezing rain accumulation. About 1/4 inch of ice. So unfortunately, we've got to go to another source. So let's go to weather. I know Weather COD has, and so does Weather Bell. But let's go here. Let's go to the wrap. Let's go to winter. Let's look at precip type. And then we'll do the sector selection. Oh, they got rid of got rid of the floater essentially, but gosh sakes, look at that. That is ice pellets to the max. Look at that sleet, bursts of sleet coming in. And that's also with the wrap. Here is precip type. Purple is sleet. No, excuse me. Purple is freezing rain. This color is sleet. And this is snow. Just basically everything with this system, but it's a very quick hitting system. So it'll precipitate, and then it's going to move out pretty fast. We go to the NAM. All right, so now we got to go to Weather Bell. Let's look at the HRRR. I can't see any comments right now, and that's because we're in the midst of looking at all this forecast. So here is sleet. This is a sleet accumulation total. Go to Arkansas. We'll zip in. This is the new 3 kilometer. Yeah, look at all that sleet coming in. That's as far out as the model goes. Look at that. Nearly an inch of sleet. So this is mostly going to be a sleet snowstorm with some freezing rain at higher elevations. It is going to come down. That's going to cause issues, and I think school is going to be like, forget it. Also freezing rain too, but like we were saying, I knew it was going to be somewhat of a sleet profile. Let's look at the NAM. The NAM doesn't have that much sleet. So if the NAM wins out, we don't get much at all. This doesn't even have sleet. That's just a 10-to-1 ratio. FE3 doesn't have sleet either. Let's look at the yeah. The RFS, I think, is out. Done for. How about the NBM? Let's look at the NBM here. Ice accumulation. Let's zoom in on this. Take a look at the new NBM. Yeah, that's a fail. It's just basically has ice everywhere. And it has snow everywhere too. Oh, no, wait, hold on. That's going way far out. Let's go back here. I was going to say, that doesn't look right. And then snow, very minimal snow, all north. I don't think that's going to handle the dynamic cooling very, very well. Let's see. This does sleet. Man, the HRRR is just going sleet busters. Well, I think that covers it, man. I think we've done everything, and I think that that's it. So at this point, we're just going to be answering questions. Which mile is most reliable? Nope. Nothing. To be honest with you, nothing's reliable. And by the way, Dan, that Hodo tool is looking awesome. So excited. Denton Sachs used to be a storm spotter of mine. He lives right down the road from me, which is real convenient for us weather geeks. And this is a research project, gosh, that I wanted to do for so long. And I'm excited that we're finally bringing it to fruition. And we're going to truly calculate the critical angle properly and not just at 500 meters. And that's for tornado forecasting. Let's look at the temperatures here at midnight. And then we're going to shut this Facebook Live down in an hour 30. So we're at 32 in Rogers, 33 in Bentonville, 35 in Fayetteville. You got 40 in Fort Smith, 32 in Tahlequah. So we're still pretty much right around status quo. There you see the winter weather advisory. Wintry mix of ice, sleet, and snow. After this entire broadcast, Facebook Live, and live weather update, I think you can tell how there's just a mix of everything that's going to basically occur. You name it, it's going to be possible. Now let's look at the satellite and radar, and let's see what we've got brewing here. Oh, yeah. Here she comes. A lot of precipitation, and look at that sleet. So what time should this start? No, Brendan, they're not going to be rotating. Because remember, we showed you the sounding. Everything's going to be too elevated. When I drove out, visibility was terrible. Let's look at some cameras here. Let's get a view. Here's Alma, no problems. Bella Vista, no issues. Fulbright, nope. Midtown Building, Decatur, nah. Graduate Hotel, a little bit of mist out there. Kessler Mountain in the clouds. Fog starting to develop. Miss Laura's, no problems there. Fort Smith Public Library, chill. Posey Mountain, iced over. Higher elevations. Whitney Mountain Lodge, dark. Gravit, dark. There's Gaither Mountain. Look at the icing accumulation on the guy wires, but a lot of that melted today. Huntsville, that's miserable. Lincoln, fog starting to develop. Mount Magazine, sucked in. Cartwright Mountain, dark. No, wait a minute. One of those would be a Luma wipe. Okay. P Ridge, no problems. Pinnacle, not too bad. Allen Elementary, no issues. Springdale, nope. Harbor High School, down, but going to be fixed. And Waldron, rain. No, I didn't sound annoyed. I'm just saying, no, we're going to be. I'm just saying we're not going to have any rotating storms. I'm just saying no, as in you don't have to worry about that at all. There's not going to be severe weather with this. However, there will be severe weather to the south. And Brandon, you actually, when you mentioned that, I forgot to show this, and I wanted to show it. Here's the day one convective outlook. Look at this bad boy. Time to crunch some Hodos, Denton. Oh, where was that radar for, by the way?
That's in Robbins Air Force Base, Georgia.
Yeah, that's right where the tornado potential is there. So there's the day one convective outlook. This is new, too. This just updated. That's tornado potential. Notice how it's southeast of us. So that's where the surface-based storms are, Brendan. Here's a look at the day two convective outlook, which is basically today's outlook. It just hasn't updated. But it'll give you an idea of how they altered the forecast, which they really didn't do much at all. Day three, severe weather moves to the east. Day one, weather prediction center risk, heavy rain to the south. And then that just kind of continues to track south. And then for that Thursday system, or so for Saturday system, day 5, let's show you that. So here's the deal on this. This isn't going to be updated right away. It'll be blank, but I'll have to update it. There you go. Look at that outlook. A large severe weather potential in the same spot. So multiple systems, you know what that means? We could get multiple times the same stuff, winter weather. Okay, I'll show the Euro, but I think it's too warm, and I also think it's underdone the precipitation amounts. But we'll take a look at it, and we'll zoom in on it. So yeah, Brandon, you don't have to worry about surface-based storms. You don't have to worry about any rotation or anything like that. I do think there's going to be some issues travel-wise tomorrow morning. If we get bursts of thunder sleet, my goodness, that's going to come down. That's going to pile up quick, and that's going to cause some slick roads. Thunder sleet, nothing really does slick roads like sleet. And by the way, someone had a question. Yeah, inch of sleet can cause basically a upgrade to a warning. Here's a winter weather advisory. This is the criteria. Sleet less than a half inch. But there's a chance that if we get more, that we'll see the potential for that to be upgraded to a warning. Now, I'm going to tell you what the criteria is for a warning. And then I'm going to show the euro, Alex. So here's a winter storm warning where you have a ½ inch of sleet or more. So under a ½ inch of sleet is a winter weather advisory. If it's over a ½ inch, you have essentially a winter storm warning. It could be upgraded, honestly, with that much sleet, but it's all dependent on the temperatures, and they're not going to do it this far out. Okay, European. Let's do the zoomed in view on the European, and let's go through here, and we'll start off. So it's showing, see, this is why I think the European's off, because it's already got 35 at midnight, and we already know it's like 31, 32 degrees. Cassville is even in the upper 20s. So take this and throw it out the window already because it's too warm. So you just got to look out the window, and the window is showing colder weather. Here's a look at Wednesday morning, and then Thursday morning, maybe a little bit of flurry activity. Yeah, I went cloudy all night for overnight Wednesday into Thursday morning, and then it clears out. Here's the system that comes through on Friday. Friday, by the way, we're going for a high in the upper 40s, but it'll feel like freezing. Oh, yeah. Snow depth is the way to go on this because temperatures are going to be borderline freezing. So scared. Nope, I'm not scared to show it. I just don't think it's doing a good job, Alex. And you be the judge on that too. Temperatures are too warm. Now there's Saturday's wraparound snow that could happen. And then here's next week. Big system. Starts off as rain, turns pretty cold with a northeast wind and drops down below freezing and then gets to snow and then moves out. So pretty quick moving system. But yeah, let me bring that up again. So we got 35 Rogers and Bentonville, 36 in Fayetteville. What are the actual temperatures in Anderson and Cassville and Bentonville and Rogers? Well, let's see. Those actual temperatures are, I'm going to guess, a lot colder. We'll do a zoomed in view on those, but 32 in Rogers. So there you go. It's just it's a little too warm. Well, you got to remember, Shayla, that is just a model depiction, and that might not be exactly what happens. But because you are asking, I will show it. And we'll do a zoomed in view on the HRRR. This computer is smoking, by the way. Literally, there's so much going on. I don't want to do the extended. Close that out. The GFS preset types. We'll close that out. I'm going to do the HRRR moving. So this we're going to be able to do it slow motion. We're going to be able to zoom in, and we're going to be able to show you what it shows at the time. But remember, it's not perfect. So we'll zoom out. Whoa. Didn't like that. So this is what it looks like at midnight. There's the system coming in. Look at all that precipitation just rapidly expand. So about 5 o'clock in the morning, that's when the precipitation starts moving in. What is going on with this? So we zoom in, and you're starting to see precipitation moving into Bella Vista, Bentonville, Springdale. On the initial end, it'll probably be maybe a little bit of rain mixed in with sleet. But then, as that precipitation rapidly cools the column, you're going to see this change pretty dramatically in a half hour. So you're asking about War Eagle. Let me take off these wind barbs. There's just too much going on when you zoom in. So there's War Eagle Mill, and yeah, that's sleet all across the board. And when you zoom in that much, you see it might even change to snow a little bit, then go back to sleet, and then start to warm, and then those temperatures will start to climb. So living on lake effect anything? No, there's not going to be any lake effect snow tomorrow. So I will say this, that there's going to be a big temperature drop, and if the roads are wet, there's going to be some issues with potential freezing of the roads. But it all depends on if they dry or not. So we looked at it. Yeah, War Eagle Cove, similar. I mean, it's just basically similar everywhere. We can't get that specific. I will say this, that the HRRR has been hinting at, after this system comes through on the back edge, since there is so much energy, there could be a little flurry activity right here, and it is showing that. And that could be a cold rain as temperatures warm, but also there's that band that develops, that frontogenetic forcing band, that could lead to some light snow. That could cause issues for the evening commute tomorrow. Because remember, we will be getting colder, and that will stick a lot more. And then the models also are hinting at maybe potentially Thursday morning a little bit of winter weather as the back edge of a little fast moving system zips through. Now, the models have been back and forth on this, and it took it out here, but there is an outside chance that maybe something happens Thursday morning. Yeah, I know. Of course they are. However, they were talking about adjusting the forecast too. And if you read the discussions, you'll see that they're saying this could be a little more than expected, considering what we're seeing. So you're welcome for zooming in. I will go another 3 minutes, and then we are going to shut it down. But to sum up everything, things are going to go downhill quick. At about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, I would expect some thunder freezing rain and thunder sleet to be developing. Then as we go into the afternoon, those temperatures will start to climb a little bit. But then as we go into Thursday or Wednesday evening, that might bring the potential for maybe a little bit of wraparound snow. Aha! Kenzie, that is a good way to end it. Let's bring out the 8-ball. The old stinker 8-ball. Precipitation's starting to pop up west of Tulsa now, too. All right, what should we mention? 8-ball. What should we do? It didn't glitch. All right, here we go. Will there be sleet in Northwest Arkansas today? Come on. Cannot predict now. You serious? Trash. Oh, 8-ball, which you have been trash lately. Will there be school closures tomorrow? Better not tell you now. I'm going to mix this thing up. Will we get snow in Northwest Arkansas? My sources say no. Active spring. Will the Brodo with the Hodo make it to work? That's funny. How was I popping that up with no hands? It is certain. Yeah, of course he's going to make it. Wishy-washy 8-ball. Will there be sleet accumulations over an inch in parts of Northwest Arkansas? Signs point to yes. There you go. Over an inch of sleet. That thunder sleet storm of March 2014 brought, let's just say, 2 feet of sleet from the piles. And it was about 2.5 inches of sleet. It was crazy. Will there be power outages in Northwest Arkansas? You can rely on it. Oh boy. I got one. This is a trap question. Will it not rain at all today? At all? No precipitation. My sources say no. All right. If it wasn't, I'm going to take that thing and throw it out the window. Yep. Crazy and beautiful. So enjoy the show in the morning. Peyton Langford will be in shortly. Hey, one more, Alex. Good question. Will the euro be on target? My sources say no. Ha. It's killing that. Oh, well, let's bring up. Let's go ahead and bring up the Hodo program here real quick again. Get that comment off of there. So there you go. Ah, look at that. The scoff angle. The scoff critical angle. Very nice. That's not a good critical angle right now.
No, so the line of storms is starting to overtake the radar, and you might explain why that starts making that photograph start looking terrible.
Yeah, we might save that for another day. I ain't gonna lie. Was there any warnings? I don't see any right now. Ooh, I just missed the warm front here. It's the Brodo. Do you like that? That's a good. The Brodo with the Hodo. Here's a look at the storms that we're watching. So yeah, line already overtaking. Not a lot of instability, but that energy is not in yet. So after this all moves out, look at that gulf of moisture streaming in. Nope, not Ryan Hall. Way more meteorological sound and scientific. Ryan Hall does a great job. There's no doubt about that. But there's a lot of meteorology that he does not know. So we'll leave it at that. We're going to end that. And we got to run, man. Take care. Be safe. We'll see what happens. It's going to be a show. Thanks for watching. God bless.